All right, welcome everybody to our October webinar, Innovate by Inquiry. I am joined by my colleague John Sakers. John, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Um, so today we're going to talk to you about how you can ask smarter questions and transform your operations and employee experience. I would like to point out though that this is not one of your typical like clickbaity things, like John, you're going to see on TikTok with ask 10 questions and number four is going to shock you. That's not what this is about. We're going to work with you to understand what it is you're trying to innovate and what it is you're trying to do. Um, John, when you think,
Everybody has these problems, Brian.
yeah,
They're stuck in loops sometimes, and they're hoping that they can find a way to innovate out of those. And so I think this will be a great discussion.
I was going to ask you, when you think of innovating by inquiry, I'm like, what do they mean by this? What do you think is supposed to be meant by innovate by inquiry?
That I really like the question because the innovation is all about asking questions. The innovation starts with an idea. Sometimes that idea comes from just somebody thinking of something out of the blue, but more often than not, almost always, I'd say, innovation comes from finding out the real problems that someone is facing and identifying those and seeing if you can apply a technology, essentially bringing together things that you haven't used before and bringing them together and solving a problem that someone is facing in the real world. So there's often no use for putting something together unless somebody's going to make some use out of it and get some value out of it. So I think the innovation by inquiry talks to how do we get those ideas and find the problems that we want to solve.
I really like that because I think it starts with I know this is just a buzzword, right? The reactive trap, but the fact is we've been in enough situations where we've seen um, people and processes caught in a cycle to know, it's no fault of their own. You have departments that consolidate and companies that, merge and departments get, duplicated and you have people learning new systems and this endless firefighting. It's, that's the reaction part we're talking about. I used to, I would say back in the day, I had a manager like this who was just a straight up firefighter. And it's like there was a new fire every day, right? And he would come to me. And in my mind, I would say, I'm not going to act upon this unless he asks three times because there was always something new, right? Um, but this is what I think leads to what you were talking about before. Like we can't innovate without realizing that we're in this trap. Um,
Absolutely. There's
yeah.
only so much time in a day. And if you are spending all of your time fighting fires, trying to react to the latest thing that is broken, you're not having an opportunity to really sit back and confirm that what you're doing is adding value. It does come down to understanding your process and seeing if you can get out of that endless loop of I have a plan, but I can't get anything done because I'm too busy solving what went wrong yesterday.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think once you look at that reactive trap, um, what I really like about doing this and what I like about our jobs is when we talk to people about what they're doing, focusing on their particular role, is they've probably been stuck in that trap for so long. They know what's going on, right? They know what's wrong. And we're allowed to step in and really listen to them. And I would say that for me, the art of asking why just lets us listen to what they're saying because it might be forever that someone's actually listened to them and then we're here to do something about that and we can in our own little way, John, be super people, like we're not
That's right.
we're not I'm not saying we're Iron Man, but I'm not saying we're Iron Man, So that's why I like this, and that's
That's right.
why I like talking to people.
Yeah,
Um,
these tools are your Jarvis to help figure out
Thank you.
what
Yeah,
people need to accomplish their jobs better. And
right.
and you're exactly right. It all comes down to giving people a little bit of room to have a conversation that says, I am stuck doing this. Whenever something comes in, I need to do three things, and I have to visit three systems and enter this information manually. Let's see if we can reduce some of that overhead, reduce some of that non-productive work, so that these people can get the real knowledge-based work done that they need to do.
Yeah. No, I like that. Um, when you and I were first talking about this, you had brought to me the concept of the five whys. Can you go into that a little more and what you meant by that? Because I think it's really impactful, at least for how we do it and how we go about our methodology.
Absolutely. So the five whys concept started as a root cause analysis. So when a issue happened in, say, for instance, a manufacturing facility, the five whys tool was used to say, well, the production line stopped. Well, why did the production line stop? Well, because the belt on the conveyor belt snapped. Well, why did that snap? Well, because it was worn out from overuse, and ultimately drilling down to, well, we should replace the conveyor belt once every 3 months, and that solves the problem. So it's not a matter of the production line stopped. It's a matter of maybe we missed a maintenance schedule or something
Sure.
like that. And that process is exactly the same in our knowledge economy. Why do we need to fill out the form 1732? Well, it's because accounting needs to know about the latest sale that we made. Well, why, how do they need to know that? Well, it's in this system, but they don't have access to it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's a bridge that we can build between those two, and push that information automatically into the accounting system, so we don't have people sitting in a chair copying from one spreadsheet and pasting it into another Access database.
Yeah. I think you missed an opportunity, John, there to instead of form 1732 is to say your TPS report, but we'll let
That's
that
exactly
slide.
right.
Right. Yeah. Um, this art of asking why I really love. For me, this is gonna sound, I don't know, weird maybe is not the right word. And if I had a grander vocabulary, perhaps I could come up with something, but I truly like talking to people about what they do. And I think a lot of times they just want to be heard, we mentioned before, and they might have felt for a long time that nobody is listening to them. And when you ask why, and when you ask how, and when you ask, can you explain this to me? I like to say, explain it to me like I'm five, even though I'm not sure a 5-year-old would necessarily care about a production line process. Oh, they might if it was, like an Oscar Mayer wiener, perhaps, like how's a hot dog made? Literally, how is the sausage made? We want to
That's
know
right.
that, right? We want to know that. At least I do. Because one, I'm curious, and people like to talk about themselves. And I think that if you can get them to open up, especially on a one-on-one, um, that really provides that opportunity for them to vent, and to I think the art in this case is to keep them on the topic and not like veer off. Like if we're talking about how our sausage is made and they go about, managing their butterfly collection, well, okay, this now we've gotten off the beaten path here, but we want to steer it back in. But your five whys are really, if I'm hearing right, about continuous asking until you've got that process detail.
Until you really find the root cause. What communication, what information needs to be transmitted, and why do we need to share that information? What business process are we supporting, and how maybe can we do it in a different way?
Yeah, yeah. That's good. That's good. Um, when when we're working with our, clients, and when we're in you know, uh, a place that we're trying to discover and innovate for them, we have a methodology here at Navient, and for us, part of that is the very first part, this discovery phase. And honestly, it's my favorite part, because we get to ask the questions. And when we go and we talk about what they're doing and what we're meeting for, it's not just a meeting, right? It's not just, hello, here Brian is, I am on my teams. Ideally, we go on site and we like to immerse ourselves. At least I do, right? And I know you just came off a site visit, and I know that it's so much more beneficial where we can go to where they work, right? Go to their world and shadow what they do. Not necessarily, looking over their shoulder and what is that? Why'd you click that button? No, it's really to like show me what you do every day as it relates to this process. What, I guess, what do you like about this or don't like about this discovery phase? I shouldn't assume you like it. Maybe you don't, but what is it about this that you feel is one of the more impactful parts of what we do in terms of discovery?
Well, I think the discovery phase is great in that we all start with the same mission. Our goal of everyone in the room is to see if we can improve the process that we're looking at. This is something that you do every day, and let's see if we can make your life easier. If we can maybe
Hmm.
get that information out faster. Let's see if we can skip a step and save you from walking across the room to the copier. So this is the opportunity that we have to really start with a blank sheet of paper and label a circle at the start and a box at the end and say, how do we get between these two to accomplish the business need that we do? You're exactly right. I think the kind of questions that you're looking at, how do you do what you do, and do you know why you're doing that? Back to the why questions. Why are you filling out this form? Who does it go to next? What information do they need? And can you maybe think of another way that we might make that happen? And so I think that's the great opportunity. And frankly, the people who are doing the process are the real treasure troves of information. You will not find any better view of the process than somebody who's hands on every single day. So
Yeah.
they've touched all of the pages. Every invoice passes through their hands. There's so many times when we're doing these discoveries when the manager is in the room with us and we ask the people doing the work, and the manager has told us absolutely we process using steps A, B, and C, and the person sitting at the desk says, well, we haven't done step C in 7 years. We've replaced that with step D, and so
Yeah.
that's the way it goes. So that's kind of discovery is so valuable, because if we had just assumed that the process was the same as it was
Hmm.
at the top level description, we would have missed out on an opportunity to maybe improve it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I think, I'm gonna go back to this curiosity, because
Hmm.
I think it's for me, it's the key part of the this innovation by inquiry. If you're curious, then you ask them, well, why do you do it this way? And it's not that you know any better way. I certainly don't. Like, sure, I've been using Excel since they invented it back in 600 before common era kind of thing. But that's when we had stone tablets, and we were
That's right.
using,
That's right.
right, Excel. Yes. So it's not like I know everything. But I do like to ask, why do you do it this way? Because a lot of times, I mean, people are innovative by nature.
Hmm.
And I always give them the benefit of the doubt because they may have been taught this is the way we do it, but they want or figured out a different way to do it. I always like
Hmm.
this has been my philosophy that I've always wanted to automate my job so I could move on and do
Hmm.
something else, right?
Hmm.
And it's not that people ultimately I'm lazy, John. Don't tell anybody this, right?
All right.
But
All right. No, we won't tell anybody. Nobody's listening, right?
no one's listening, right? Yeah. But I figured if I can do things quicker, then I can get on to doing other things. And a lot of times people figure out shortcuts. Or on the opposite side, if a process is too difficult, they just won't do it,
That's right.
right? And that can be a software solution or it can be an actual process.
That's right.
They're going to do what's easiest for them, and we want to understand why. And I want them to do the best work and feel that they're actually making a difference. That's my goal within all of this. I don't want them to be bored with their job. I want
Absolutely.
them to find excitement in it personally.
That's
And
right.
that's why the pain points for me, that's another thing, right? Um, when you are talking to people, and you're having conversations, how do you like listen or identify pain points?
Yeah, that's a great one, and your quote there is outstanding. What do you feel? What's the one thing you do that feels like a waste of time? Why do we do this? I send this form off and no one ever looks at it, or I fill out the form for every invoice, but we only need it when there's an exception. So that type of thing is great because people instinctively know what's a waste of time, and so asking the
Hmm.
people who are doing the work is a great way to find that. I also kind of take a step back and say, where is the bottleneck? If we are
Mm.
hearing that work is piling up in a certain location, sometimes it's because there's not enough people on that step, but sometimes it's because, like you said, the work is unsatisfying, or it's hard to do, or it's difficult, so they batch it up and do it all at once. So looking for those bottlenecks sometimes is just the process talking to you to say that there is a problem here, and this would be a good place to look into to see if there's some innovation that we can make there.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. After, we've had these interviews, the next thing we need to do is actually take all that information, right? And well, let's do something with it, right? It's one thing to say, okay, we're going to create this output report or this heat map and you'll be all good. No, we need to do something with this now, right? So what we do is once we've listened and once we've inquired and once we've gathered all of this data, we work with you and our team internally to think about how do we eliminate this repetitive low value tasks, right? The copying and pasting that you have to do between systems because, well, it's just what I have to do and it's the boring part of the job. Aha, we heard that. We heard you talk about the boring
Right.
part, right? Um, and like you were talking about before, John, this process redesign, go into that more because I think you were talking about I heard this specific one with the five whys and the belt breaking down, right? That
That's right.
process that was missed. What was that again?
Sure, sure. So that's just an example of looking at the process. The process failed somewhere, and why did it fail? And it's not a matter of somebody making a mistake. It is almost always a problem with the system that we've developed, the process that we developed somehow failed, because there's going to be humans are humans, and they will react to a process that doesn't work for them. And so if they don't have the time to do the TPS reports that are required, or
There you go.
if they are burdensome to fill out, or if they feel like they have to retype something that appears in another spreadsheet, they may not do it, or they may just wait until the end of the month to do it and just do it in bulk. Just let the process and let the people speak to you to say that where are we stumbling, and let's look at the process and see if we can fix that, because there's no such thing as a permanently bad employee. I think there's just process failures that are maybe not letting people do their best work.
Mm, yeah, you're right. And when we look at the process and then we examine the person who's doing this, and we've interviewed or talked to a number of people, a lot of times we can see, well, this person, these two people, these three people are all doing the same thing.
Hmm.
So what can we do to streamline that? And that's where that role clarity comes from. It's, I think, like I mentioned before, like through um, combination of departments or departments being eliminated or mergers or whatnot, you get people who are doing the same thing. They may have not even known, right? They're
That's right.
like, well, my job was this, but on the side or every other Friday during a full moon, I do this thing. Well, also
That's right.
everybody else is doing that, right? And that's where we can say, all right, look, you said your role was to do this, but you're doing all this stuff over there that Pete's doing
That's
too.
right.
Let's bring that over. Let's, and that's the kind of thing, we try to find. And reduce that confusion, I think.
That's right. And the other side of the coin is that with our automation processes and with a with little bit of intelligence in those automation processes, we can let people become specialists. So
Oh
instead
yeah.
of having five people and some of them are good at purchase orders and some of them are good at non-PO orders, some of them are good with the Western vendors, but they can't figure out what happens with when something comes from overseas. So the idea of using automation to build and specialize your teams can really improve productivity because you get people who are doing the things that they're best at and
Hmm.
doing them in a very powerful and automated way.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's great. That's great. Um, so when we can establish this, innovation, once we've said, okay, let's look at automating this process, combining roles, maybe eliminating waste here, and we come to now a a system that's more or less humming, right?
Yes.
It's this that we've developed a system now that the people feel empowered to give us continuous feedback, right? And they've changed their, I hope, attitude, right? When we come in, we're not mean. I try not to be, right? But I try to create that like I've mentioned before as one of the themes for me is that curiosity, right? We want
Right.
people to feel empowered to say, could we try doing it this way? They're going to know their job best, right?
Mhm.
I'm just coming in asking questions and generally trying to understand why they do the things they do. Um, and that's why this changing from a one-time project that we might come in and execute on for a bit and changing that to a mindset is really going to be the beneficial part of that. How do you think this mindset shift
Mhm.
will then lead to continuous innovating by inquiry?
This is my favorite slide, Brian, because this it really talks
Thank you.
about this really talks about changing the environment that you're working in, and it is a big challenge to try and take a world where people are used to firefighting and reacting and panicking and scrambling and doing things at the last minute, and really stepping back and thinking, is this really the best way to do that? And is there an opportunity to really improve our process and then not just say that the process that we improved is now perfect. It's not.
Hmm.
There's the every time we fix a bottleneck in a process, it just uncovers the next bottleneck, and that next bottleneck might be another opportunity for innovation. So by changing the culture of your organization and really giving people the opportunity to say when something is not working the way that they would like it to, you can uncover things that you wouldn't even expect. This changing of the culture, kind of opening it up for continuous improvement, really gives people the chance to just come to the party and bring their best selves and share information and ideas
Hmm.
that might revolutionize your business, and you'd never know where that next great idea is coming from. So I love this part of our job where we kind of set the tone, tell people that you are free to expand your horizons, try out
Yeah.
new things. Let's see what we can do to make our business better.
Yeah. No, I really like that. I think what's great about this is that when we get to work with our clients long term, and we've put into place some of the stuff, and then we come back a little bit later and we see they're still doing it and still and doing more and different things. That's
That's
what I
right.
really like to see. It's like, awesome, you guys are still doing this. This is so cool, and I don't know, that just makes me feel good overall.
Absolutely.
Um, I'll just say, if John, thanks for your time. If you're ready to innovate, give us a call. If or send us an email. If you think that what we were talking about here has value to you, please reach out to us, and we can help you innovate. Any last parting words there, John?
Brian, I think you capped it off best. This is our favorite part of our job. This is the opportunity we have to really change the just how someone goes through their daily work, and change the opportunities for a business, the chance to grow, the chance to do more with less, and just accomplish really big things. Anything from just a small process improvement all the way to revolutionizing and inventing new products. That's what we can help with.
Revolutionizing. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, John, thank you very much. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, everyone.